I think that Elon, he's an incredible entrepreneur. He's actually done, I think Doge was really good. This sort of effort to root out waste, fraud, and abuse in our country was really good. And look, man, I'm always going to be loyal to the president, and I hope that eventually Elon kind of comes back into the fold. Maybe that's not possible now because he's gone so nuclear.
Well, his feelings
but I hope it is, man.
Like his
because
feelings are hurt. Why though? Do you know why?
Yeah, I mean, so look, I think number one, so Elon's new to politics, right? So his businesses are being attacked nonstop. They're literally like firebombing some of his cars. And by the way, we're looking into a lot of this stuff. I mean, some of that stuff we're looking into is an act of terrorism at the Department of Justice, because I think it is an act of terrorism. So I think part of it is this guy got into politics and has suffered a lot for it. But I mean, and I get the frustration there, and I get the frustration that, I mean, look, Congress, you got the spending bill. But the main purpose of the bill is not actually spending or cutting spending, though it does cut a lot of spending. The main purpose of the bill is to prevent the biggest tax increase. But I understand, like, it's a good bill. It's not a perfect bill. Like the process in DC, if you're a business leader, you probably get frustrated with that process because it's more, bureaucratic. It's more slow moving.
Yeah.
So I think there's just some frustrations there. But I really, man, I think it's a huge mistake for him to go after the president like that. And I think that if he and the president are in some blood feud, most importantly, it's going to be bad for the country. But I don't think it's going to be good for Elon either.
But Elon, like, did Doge, first of all, my first thought was that it's a ruse, right? Because there's a lot of times where the media will put out a ruse, or they'll use somebody like, I think the Diddy thing is a ruse. Like, it's like, hey, like, diverse community, stay busy with this shit while we like move all these chess pieces, right? Sometimes that's what I feel like it is. And maybe I'm like a pervert or whatever, sorry, or weird guy, sorry. But this has nothing to do with that, huh? But I'm
not a pervert. Maybe you're a weird guy. You're not a pervert. I think you're a good dude.
I appreciate that, dude. But anyway, what I was saying was,
so that Diddy thing, man, is it true they found like, sorry,
no, go
not to
on.
play into this, but I read somewhere that they found like bottles and bottles and bottles. Maybe you told me this. I don't know. Somebody told me bottles and bottles of like baby oil, but that had like drugs in it.
Bring that up. Was they doping up?
Is that real, or is that just something I heard on the internet? Because sometimes you hear stuff on the internet that's not true.
Well,
most of it is. Most of the stuff you hear on the internet.
What defense would you have? Like babies that are addicted to dirty oil?
Yeah, I mean, you don't normally have GHB in baby oil.
GHB
like I'm not
oil.
a doctor, but I don't think that's a normal ingredient in GHB. Anyway, sorry.
I mean, like, no. But I don't know, dude. There's some babies these days that fucking want to get to the club, homie. No. So do you think it was, so obviously it was the bill. This is where it's happened. Something about the bill made him upset.
Yeah. So yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, again, I think he looked at the bill. He didn't like it. And I think it's a good bill. But again, there are things you can criticize about it. Like the president would be very open and say, this is not a perfect bill.
Yeah.
But Donald Trump doesn't get to write the bills, right? Congress has to write the bills.
Okay.
And you got to work with them to try to get something that is as good as possible.
Okay.
So here's what I'll say about the bill. Number one, prevents the biggest tax increase in American history.
It prevents it?
Prevents it. Because taxes are going to go up on everybody in a really big way at the end of 2025, because the old tax law expires at the end of 2025. So you're going to hit a big tax increase. We're trying to prevent that from happening. We're also trying to do stuff. Okay, so you got a lot of people working long overtime hours in this economy. We inherited bad inflation from Joe Biden, so no tax on overtime, no tax on tips. Right? We're in Bob Ritchie. We're in Kid Rock's great restaurant. His servers would not have to pay taxes on the hard-earned tips that they get when they're busting their ass doing a good job. So when working for Kid Rock, man, that's hard work, right? So I think that it's a good bill and it does a lot of good for the American people. But like, look, Elon's entitled to his opinion. I'm not saying he has to agree with the bill or agree with everything that I'm saying. I just think it's a huge mistake for the world's wealthiest man. I think one of the most transformational entrepreneurs ever, that's Elon, to be at this war with the world's most powerful man, who I think is doing more to save the country than anybody. I mean, I'm 40 years old, anybody in my lifetime. I mean, think about it. It's a guy who, not even a year ago, nearly took a bullet in the process of campaigning, went back on the horse the next day. And if you look, obviously I'm biased, but you look at what we've done on the border, you look at what we've done with trade, fighting back against a generation of theft of the American dream, which is what the president's trade policies are starting to do. I just think you got to have some respect for him and say, look, yeah, we don't have to agree on every issue. I'm talking about if you're Elon Musk, you don't have to agree with us on every issue, but is this war actually in the interest of the country? I don't think so. So hopefully Elon figures it out, comes back into the fold. I know the president, for a couple days, I'll tell you, I don't want to reveal too many confidences, but was getting a little frustrated, feeling like some of the criticisms were unfair coming from Elon. But I think has been very restrained because the president doesn't think that he needs to be in a blood feud with Elon Musk. And I actually think if Elon chilled out a little bit, everything would be fine.
It would help.